Hey guys, it's Flux here, and today we'll be talking about the next installment in the RollerCoaster Tycoon series, RollerCoaster Tycoon World, dropping in 2015 for the PC. Now before we start, just a small disclaimer, this video is only covering everything we know so far about Tycoon World. Because the game is still in its developmental stages, some of the information we've been given may not be final or even included in the game at all. Just keep in mind this video is purely speculation based off the information we've been given, and I don't personally represent Atari or Pipeworks Software. So the very first piece of information released for Tycoon World was this teaser trailer. Now a lot of people's initial reaction to this trailer was, wow, look at these awesome graphics, look at this amazing game, this looks so awesome. But let's keep in mind this is just a pre-rendered video, it's not actually anything from the real game, which really only says we're making a new game and this is what it might look like. Now probably the most prevalent example of this is SimCity 2013's announcement trailer. You can see here it's this beautiful rendering of the water, there's like reflections and detailed building models, incredible particle effects and lighting, everything just looks really amazing in the reveal trailer. Then we get to the actual gameplay, and while it's not like the graphics are bad or anything, you can definitely see they scale it down a bit and they really just don't look anything like the reveal trailer did. So let's move on now and take a look at some of the things we can expect to see in RollerCoaster Tycoon World. The first thing to note here is that Tycoon World has a new developer, Pipeworks Software. As some of you may know, Tycoon 1 and 2 are both developed by Chris Sawyer, kind of giving them a similar graphical style, but Tycoon 3 was developed by Frontier with kind of an overhead from Chris Sawyer. So Chris Sawyer gave some feedback and basically just kind of guided Frontier in the development, but he didn't actually develop it himself, which is why there's some fresh new graphics and a 3D view rather than the old isometric view in Tycoon 3. Tycoon World, however, is the first game in the RollerCoaster Tycoon series that does not have any input from Chris Sawyer. We know this from various interviews of Chris Sawyer following PAX 2014, and while this does concern some people, I think it gives Pipeworks Software the creative freedom to make a fresh, new game. We can see this already in the leaked concept art from Pipeworks Software that followed shortly after the release trailer, showing some very dynamic themes in all their work. This really isn't surprising after Tycoon 3 with all of its kind of outlandish themes and some crazy scenery objects, things like that. While this may put off some of us that really enjoyed the realism in Tycoon 3, let's just keep in mind that Tycoon 3 did the very same thing on release with the kind of outlandish scenery and objects and rides and all this stuff, but just the sheer amount of custom content produced by the community after the release really did drive the creativity and make the game fun and refreshing over and over again. That being said, I do think some sort of generic style that's more realistic and less outlandish would really benefit the game, just so those of us who want to make our own themes and things aren't forced to use the default themes included in the vanilla game. Now this last piece of concept art shared here is something that kind of concerns me. I don't want to make any assumptions here, but I'm looking at this and it looks like one large prefab object. I don't see, that isn't really something you can just create with little pieces. It looks like something you would plop down as one big object, and from the looks of things I've seen, you'll see in a minute in these screenshots I'm going to show, what looks to be full placeable restaurants that they go in and eat inside of, which I'm okay with. I agree that that's a cool idea, but I do think something that's very important is to not take away that creative aspect of being able to build your own large buildings and structures with kind of smaller objects or like walls and windows and things. I really think that's an important and key element to making Tycoon 3 and 2 and 1 all so much fun. Moving on to screenshots and game features, we have one of the most thorough accounts of the gameplay so far released by the website Gizorama, who got the chance to see the game firsthand and speak with developers during PAX 2014. According to the article, there will be 4 initial landscapes to choose from: forest, canyon, adventure, and sci-fi, which makes sense as 4 screenshots have been released, each representing one of those landscapes. Similar to how the regions work in SimCity, you'll be able to make multiple parks and connect them together with monorails. These plots can all be occupied by yourself in single player or by your friends in multiplayer. Now this decision definitely raised some concern with people because lots of people saw what happened with SimCity and Maxis, where they took a game that was really made to be single player and they tried to make it multiplayer with the whole multi-plot regional system, and this just caused a massive amount of frustration. People weren't able to sync their cities together, they couldn't send resources back and forth, and just cities didn't even function properly because of this whole DRM system. So Atari and Pipeworks have both stepped in and said there's not going to be any sort of DRM required online connection to play the game. There will be a single player with an offline mode. There's also going to be large plots big enough to build giant parks with no issues, like the SimCity had that huge issue with way too small of plots. And on top of that, it has been confirmed there will be no microtransactions like in RCT4M. Further down in the article, there is mention of, quote, The ability to grab your track and drag it as far as you want, which implies some form of freehand or vertice-based roller coaster builder. This is absolutely huge, as we've been asking for this for so long now, some form of freehand vertice building style coaster builder, because in the past we've had to use these prefab track pieces that create these really rough and just rigid adjustments and turns and transitions that really don't feel very natural. So now we can finally do that with the coaster track, and on top of that, it appears the grid system is back. You can tell from the screenshots by looking at the way the path moves in right angles and what appears to be square increments. You can also see the stalls and the shops and the rides and the flat rides. All those things seem to kind of follow that grid pattern. And finally, as you can see from the screenshot, RollerCoaster Tycoon World has been given a massive graphical overhaul. It's apparent that the lighting engine has been vastly improved, and the guests appear to be much more realistic, supposedly having more natural animations and gestures. To me, this is huge. If custom scenery support is put in properly, this could be a giant step in the right direction for Tycoon World. Having the ability to create awesome custom scenery and then put it in this great engine with awesome lighting, realistic peeps, and great gameplay pretty much just sums up everything I could hope for in this game. And this is really just because when you look back on the previous Tycoon games, of course they had great base games, and the scenery was really fun, and the gameplay was really fun, and making parks was awesome and everything like that, but really, they wouldn't have lasted this long without the massive custom community always making new content and adding fresh things to the game. So if you're still skeptical about the cartoony and outlandish stalls, shops, and buildings, just keep in mind that if done properly, this game has so much potential beyond the base scenery sets. So there you have it, everything we know so far about RollerCoaster Tycoon World and the features that may be included in-game. Of course, there will be more updates as the game gets closer to release, and I'll most definitely be covering all the new information leaked right up to the game's launch. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like. I also play Tycoon 2 and 3 on my channel regularly every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, so follow my channel for that. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.